Our last goal of 4.4 day 2 is to write equations. So up to this point we've been looking at equations and we've been commenting on their transformations, up, down, left, right, horizontal, vertical, stretch and shrink, reflections, all that kind of stuff. But now we're going to actually try to write the equation of these sinusoids, either sine or cosine. So some things that you need to consider when you're writing equations. We're going to be given some information like you see here. We've got a couple examples we'll go through. But things to consider are, what is the y value at x equals 0? The reason I say that is because y equals sine of x has a y value at, it has a first value at 0, 0. That's kind of home base for sine of x. If it's 0, 1, or if it's 0 some other point, then we're talking cosine. So that's a really important part to get right at first. Use the period and the amplitude to find a and b. We're looking if there are any reflections over the x-axis, are there any shifts, horizontal or vertical. There's lots of stuff that could go on here. We're going to try to put all of these together to write the equations for these ones. So let's start with number 1. We've got amplitude 2, period 4, point is at 0, 0. Well, some things that we need to do here. First of all, this point is at 0, 0. What I just mentioned about is that sine starts at 0, 0. So this almost always represents a sine graph. And so one thing we can know is that it represents a sine graph here. Let's go forward after that. It says the amplitude is 2 and the period is 4 pi. Now, when the period's 4 pi, it doesn't actually give us the coefficient on x. We have to go backwards and find that. But we know that to find period, generally what we do is say 2 pi over b is equal to our period. So I'm just going to set that equal to 4 pi. And we need to find out what b is. Well, it's not too hard to do that. You could use mental math. You could multiply by b on both sides and then divide by 4 pi. Either way, you're going to get that b is equal to 1/2. All right, so b is 1/2. The amplitude is 2, so anytime you see amplitude, that's just a. A is for amplitude. So then a is 2, and I know that's positive because it doesn't mention anything about reflections in this problem. So we've got all the information we need. Now we put it together and it is y equals 2 sine of 1/2 x. Or you could say x over 2. Either way you want to do that is fine. But there's our first equation based on that information. All right, next one. To draw some distinctions between the first one, you'll notice here that the point is 0, 1. When you see a 0, 1, most of the time that does mean cosine. This one is a cosine. After that point, we need to look at the other numbers we have here. Here's a nice thing. Amplitude is 1. That's a basic amplitude, so we don't have to do anything with a in this case. Really, the only thing that we got to know about is pi. So the period is pi. Again, like last time, we're going to do 2 pi divided by b. That's just the formula for getting period. We're going to set that equal to pi. 2 pi divided by what equals pi? That's going to mean that b is equal to 2 in this case. So we've got b equal to 2, we've got cosine, and that's really all we need here. The equation just turns out to be y equals cosine of 2x. That's it. We will do one more example of writing equations, but that is all for this video.